All right, so welcome to the first week of Zentangles. We're going to be working on establishing some patterns today and just getting a feel for creating the patterns, a little bit of the discipline of drawing the patterns, of drawing combinations of lines and shapes, and what and how you can use these different sets of patterns or these different designs in your illustrations. So I have a piece of kind of like copy paper, although it's a tiny bit larger. And just like the video or the directions said, I'm going to fold it in half the long way to get my middle line fold. And then I'm going to fold it a half again. I'm going to fold it in half once as best I can. And then I'm going to fold it in half one more time. And this is going to give me 8 separate boxes. Okay, because as you know, the assignment was to draw 8 separate patterns. I'm going to fold it up just so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm also referencing back to the pictures I took on my iPad of the patterns that I found kind of walking around my house. So I have a couple that I'm thinking about. I might do this pattern of this mirror that I have or the branches. I'm not really sure which one. So let's remember a couple things about patterns. The first thing is it has to have an element that repeats consistently. So when we're talking about patterns with lines, this chevron's a really good pattern because it's a single line that has the element of zigging and zagging back and forth that repeats. Okay, if we're doing patterns with shapes, this has an element that repeats. There's a white square that's outlined against the black background. If the pattern changes, you know, let's say I was doing this one and then all of a sudden I started adding circles, my patterns changed. And what we're looking to see in these boxes are the examples of patterns that you can create consistently inside this space. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go with, I think, I'll do the circles first. So a couple things about pens. I have a bunch of pens. I will admit I have a Sharpie problem. I have lots of Sharpies of lots of different sizes. So a couple of my favorite Sharpies. First one, extra fine point. This Sharpie doesn't bleed through your paper to the other side. It has a super fine point. Flows really nice, doesn't kind of get caught on the paper. And then this is another version. This is a slightly thicker point of Sharpie, also works really well. And then this set of pens by King Art, I don't even know where I got them, to be honest. I don't remember. But this is the diameter of the pen. You can see it goes all the way from almost 1/4 of a millimeter all the way up to 1/2 millimeter diameter of the pen point. And that's some really fine illustration. I can honestly tell you there's some of them I've never used because like this one, I don't know if you can see that, like that's ridiculous. But you don't need fancy pens to do this. In fact, I actually think the easiest way to do Zentangles is with a regular ballpoint pen, like a pen that you would see. Here's another one. I think I got this one at the dollar store. The only thing you really have to take into consideration, as long as you know what you're going to do with your artwork, is if the pen is not permanent ink, it will bleed when you are painting, or if you decide to paint in the end. So that's really the only thing you have to think about. Like this is another dollar store pen I got because it has a little stylus at the top. But it moves beautifully. And I think that's the one thing about Zentangles is you have to find something that's moving across the paper in a way that it makes drawing really, really easy. Pencils are not really good for Zentangles because they don't glide as much as you need them to. So for today, I'm just going to use this ballpoint pen just so that we're kind of in the same boat. I know some of you are working with bare minimum supplies. If you have a Sharpie, awesome. If you don't have a Sharpie, find any old black pen and that will work. All right, so I said I was going to start with this kind of circle pattern. And What's in this pattern are a series of circled mirrors, large ones, mediums, smalls, and then there's some extra smalls. I don't have a template to trace. Actually, that's not true. If you had something to trace, like one of these, I would definitely use it. I don't have one of circles, so I'm just gonna have to wing it, which is fine too. All right, so I'm gonna start out here with the larger circles. And again, I'm not even worried if they're the same exact size, diameter. The only thing I'm gonna try to do is keep their placement organized. And even if one goes off the page, it goes off the page. And then in between here, there's a smaller set of circles. And then in between here, there's medium-sized circles. And then again, larger circles. So a couple of things to point out. My elbows are on the table so that my hand doesn't feel like it's getting like tired, or I'm letting the blood pool off in my elbow that's kind of hanging off the table. I'm sitting up in my chair so I'm comfortable. I know some of you are working out of your bedrooms and stuff, and if you're sitting on your bed, just put a book or something underneath your arms so that you have kind of a surface to draw on top of. And you can see in a matter of, I don't know, I've probably spent about 40 seconds so far. I already have a pattern established. I'm just going to put in one more row of big circles just so, oh, there it is. I hit something with my pen. Just so I have a better understanding of what this pattern could look like. And you can see already like my big circles have already gotten smaller just because I'm kind of working, but maybe that's part of my pattern. Maybe as my pattern progresses towards the corner, it gets smaller. So that looks pretty good. One of the things I could do is go back and use regular black marker to give some, see, I can't talk and do this because I mess it up. Some additional, I just realized in order for this to be a true pattern, I missed a set of baby circles. So I'm going to squeeze them in. And this is super rushed because I'm trying to keep this under 7 minutes. I don't know why, but I'm just trying because I want to be YouTube famous. Said no one ever. Not YouTube famous during a quarantine, right guys? And then maybe in the medium-sized circles, I'll just put some lines. And this is really just to add some visual interest to my pattern. So the suggestion for today, first drawing of the day pattern, is to look at yours, sorry, and create a pattern. Told you I can't talk and draw. I'm not really good at it. All right, so that's my pattern from my photos.